Let's now look at the MISH activation function, MISH. And on here, on the slide on the left hand side, we have the input values x that go from -10 to +10. And let's imagine that these are the inputs to the neuron A, which gives us the activations shown in the column A on the right hand side. And this time the neuron A is using the activation function MISH, MISH, and I'm hoping that is the way it's pronounced. And then on the right hand side we also see the plot where the blue line shows the shape of the activation function, and it looks similar to the GELU. And up top in the green box we see how the activations are calculated. Let's look at how to use this using TensorFlow. So in TensorFlow we'll first create the x values. So let's do that. Mish x is equal to tf dot linspace, and we go from -10 to +10, and we get 100 values. And then for y, we say tf.keras.activations.mish, and then we can go ahead and plot these values. So we'll say plt.plot x comma y, and we'll label this as mish, and then we can get the grid plt.grid and plt.legend, plt.legend, and plt.show, plt.show, and we should see a nice curve. So let's see what the problem is. The keras activations has no attribute mish. Aha, right. So the reason why this error is because according to docs, we need to install the tf.nightly. So for that, we would type exclamation mark pip install tf dash nightly, and once this installation is done, we should be able to run the code that we just typed, and hopefully we would get a nice activation plot that looks similar to the Gaussian error linear unit that we looked in the earlier video. So this might take a few seconds. Until then, what we can do is, all right, so looks like this is almost done. So yeah, as soon as this is done, we'll go ahead and run this. And we're waiting for this to complete. Almost there, I suppose. Yeah. So what we can do maybe in the meantime is we can type the code for the GELU. So, well, okay. Now let's run this again and see if. Okay, so you must start the runtime to use this. So let's do that. I'm going to go back up here, restart runtime, say yes. And as soon as the runtime starts, we should be in a position to rerun all the cells right from the beginning. We'll comment this line out for now. And here and there it says initializing is done. We run these two cells. Then we can run this. So that's just commented out. And finally, we can run the cell that we are interested in, which is the MISH activation function. And here we see a nice plot for the MISH activation function. Now, we can also try to calculate these same values using the functions that are written up here. And so for this, we'll calculate the value of y. So let's call this y2 is equal to, and we'll call the soft plus function. So soft plus, and that takes in the value of x, or uh, essentially what we are doing is we need to call the MISH here. So MISH calls this soft plus, and then Soft plus is what is right here. So what we can do is copy this, copy that, put that here, and then this is going to come from tf.math.tanh, and soft plus is essentially calculating these values. So let's put that on here, and so this is going to be tf.math.log, and again this is going to be tf.math.exp. So that should work. So let's run this and see how what values of y2 we get. We should get the same values. This is using these are the calculated values using the function that we have above, and it's an exact overlay of what we had before. Let's now also do one additional thing, which is overlay the plots gelu, selu, elu on top of this. So we'll label these. This is going to be the elu, and next we'll create the selu, and then we'll create the gelu, and likewise we need to change the activation functions accordingly. Selu, and then we have the gelu, all of these, and it's time to create the plots for these. So let's create 3 of these plots and copy the names from here and replace the existing y values. So same thing for this, and then same thing for this with the g in place in g, and we can also relabel these. So let's put a g there and selu there, and then we have the elu up there. If we now run this, we should see a nice overlay of different functions. So what's the problem? Oh, that is because what to put the e in there. Okay. So we should see a nice plot of different activation functions. And if we zoom in this particular part, in the below zero part, most of the differences are in the values that are lesser than zero but close to zero. As you can see, the way the values change. In this case, if we look at the mish, that the values for that are looks like they are on top of the ELU function, or no, those are right here. That's the calculator, or the orange line. The orange is the overlay of the blue blue line. So this, the GELE function is goes to zero, approaches zero much more quickly. The mish approaches zero much later, a little later, right after minus 2.5. Whereas the ELU by itself, it doesn't tend to go to zero, and the SLE again, it also doesn't try to go to zero if the values of x are below zero. So that was how the mish function looks like. In the next video, we'll look at yet another activation function. Until then, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.